Hello, today I have with me Melissa Maughn. Melissa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So, Melissa, I met you or perhaps a few years ago in a networking event, and since then I've been following your work. I know that you have many satisfied clients who look up to you for guidance, and I know that you've been helping a lot of people in our community. So I'm very curious about your background. I wonder where you come from, who is Melissa Mon, and what is the series of events that led you into entrepreneurship?
That's a good question. And it's so funny because I help people build their brands, I help people tell their story and get their message out there. And so, you know, for me, I also reflect on myself and what I'm about and my mission and my vision and what got me to here. And everything that we experience in our life really moves us to where we should be. I really believe that. Um, and so my story, I guess, really started in my as a child. I always wanted to be an actor. I always wanted to kind of entertain people. I was a very shy kid. And so, but with my close friends, they knew me really well. Um, and so but I always like hated talking in front of people, like the same, a lot of kids have the same, kind of challenges. But I always had that drive to tell stories. I wanted to like write books. I wanted to be more creative. And growing up in a house that's more Caribbean vibes, and it's like, you have to get a good job, as they would say. That's like not something that's really they like if you say to your parent, I want to be an actor, they're just gonna look at you like, okay, good luck with that. That's not really like a sensible career path. So anyway, I always had this drive to like tell stories. Fast forward to when I got into my 20s, I fell in love with professional wrestling, and I was just watching it and I loved the physicality of it. I love the storytelling. And I thought to myself, you know what? I can do that. And so I decided to leave my home. I moved to Ontario. I became a pro wrestler, went to wrestling school. I met some other crazy bunch of people. Um, and that's where I really can say that, wow, I really learned marketing and branding from that moment, because being a pro wrestler, it's all about how are you going to stand out? How are you going to tell this story? How are you going to get yourself known? Because when I started, there was no social media, there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook, like there really wasn't social media. And so it's like, how are we going to make ourselves known? So I really learned skills about standing out, about just showing up as myself. But what we say in wrestling, your best character is you, but with the volume turned up to 100. So I really learned about, what it takes to kind of put yourself out there and be known. And so yeah, from there it kind of just grew. I knew, and then I kind of stopped wrestling. I I found a cute boy that I liked who became my husband. And he's a musician. And when he started his career, so I kind of put the wrestling on a burner because it's very physical. And so when he started his music career, I thought, you know what, I really want to help him. And so that's when I got more into digital marketing and understanding like social media. I took I learned about photography. Started to learn about videography. Um, YouTube was starting to like become a bigger thing. And so I wanted to kind of understand, okay, who he is and how do we like put that out there. So I would say that in terms of marketing, that's when I really started learning. And a few years later, again, we had kids and we're doing the whole thing, but this thing for marketing always was in me, and I always knew I wanted to do it. I didn't always know that I wanted to have my own business. actually. I never thought I would have my own business. It's not something that my husband's very entrepreneurial, but I'm not. I'm not naturally entrepreneurial, I would say. But it was always in here. And so yeah, I started helping him do social media, and then the pandemic hit, and then I thought, you know what, if not now, when? So that's when I officially kind of started my business. I started learning more, and then I started going out there and putting my putting my stuff out there and getting connected pe with people and started working with people. So it's a long story,
No, it's a beautiful story. I like it. Let,
but that's how it went.
let me go back a little bit. So you mentioned that you, as a child, you were shy and you hesitated to put yourself out there. But I think that shyness stay with us as we grow older, and we never break out of that shell. Do you have any pieces of advice for people who want to leave the shy person behind and show a little bit more of who they are?
Yes. So I do lives a lot on Instagram, and I always have people message me after and they're like, "How do you do that? Like, how are you not like nervous, or how do you bring so much energy?" And I think the important thing that we have to know about ourselves is that it's okay to be yourself. And it's okay because at a certain point in life, I feel that everyone has that one person or one situation that kind of gave us that little voice in our head, whether it was our parents, a teacher, that gave us doubt. And it's not our voice that we're hearing. Like when we have limiting beliefs, when we're feeling a certain way, it's not really us. It's that seed that was planted in our mind of, are you sure? You can't, like, you shouldn't, you should, what, all these voices. And so for me, I feel like just understanding that you can use that voice as a tool, as in it's there to protect you. Our brains are naturally wanting to keep us safe all the time. And so when we're doing something new, when we're doing something that we feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, it's just our brain's natural reaction to protect, to keep us safe, because we're doing something that it doesn't recognize. And so I feel that people, once you kind of understand, like, if you have a passion for your business, if you're an expert, I'm sure everyone watching here, you're an expert or what you do, and just lean into that and know that you can speak from your experience. It's not everyone's experience, right? Everyone has different experiences, but just be confident in what you know, and and know that it's okay that not everyone's going to resonate with what you say. Not every audience is for you, but the ones that are for you, they will cheer you on, they will support you, and the ones that don't, they're not for you. We don't care what they say anyway because they're not for us. So it's just really about leaning into, okay, I'm feeling this way because my brain's trying to protect me, but I'm safe. I'm safe. I know what I'm talking about. And just taking that step. I think that's really important.
But it's not only your brain trying to protect you. It also, let's say you mentioned that if you tell your parents that you want to be an artist, they will probably not take you seriously because
Yeah.
they want what they consider to be the best for you. So
Yeah.
through experience, they feel like the best thing for you will be to be a doctor, an engineer, or whatever, one of these cliche professions,
Mhm.
and they push back against being an artist, an entrepreneur, a creator, because not because they don't believe in you, but because they want to protect you against you failing, you harming yourself, you
Yeah.
hitting walls, while the true path of spending, I don't know, 16 years in medicine school is a proven path. It's for sure there's people dying every day. There's for sure that you're going to have a job, and people are going to admire you for your career, but maybe that's not what your heart is calling for. So you will be a
Yeah.
miserable doctor, a miserable engineer, a miserable attorney. So yeah, so who are you
Yeah.
helping? You're helping others, but not yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny because my husband and I were just talking about this, about how your vision is your vision, and other people might not understand that, whether it's your parents or whether it's your partner or whoever it is, but your vision is your vision. And a lot of times, especially in creative spaces, it's like people will always want to give you a suggestion or give you this or give you that. And if you're a creative person, then your mind's always going and you have 100 ideas. You want this and you think that, and someone's like, hey, why don't you do this? It's like, oh, yeah. And you get excited. But it's like staying strong in what you are called to do, what your purpose is, what your vision is. That's the thing that we have to stay strong in. And it is hard, like you said. And to your point, yeah, parents are always going to want to protect, right? But that's also their brain, because of the experiences they'd had, is like, okay, no, this is not a safe situation for my child because I never saw a situation like this before. So it can't, it's not right. It doesn't make sense in my mind. But it doesn't have to make sense for anybody else. It just has to make sense for you. And I
Right.
think that's something that I love to help my clients with. And that's why the first session I do with my clients is a mapping session. And it's like an hour and a half. It's all kinds of strategically ask questions to understand who they are so that I can help them bring that out. And it's not about what I think and what I'm seeing, it's about who they are and remembering who they are and trying to get that message out there.
Wow. You mentioned that you were from the Caribbean. I'm also from the Caribbean. So I'm from Colombia, but in the Caribbean coast. How about you?
So I was born here in Canada, in Montreal specifically. But my parents are from Barbados.
Barbados. Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah. And sometimes I'm like, why did you come here? I was literally in paradise. I could have been on the beach right now.
Okay. Not to mention the tax-free status there in the Barbados. But okay, so you were a wrestler. First of all, I would love it if you send me a picture of you in your wrestling outfit to put in the show notes, and everyone else
Yeah,
can see what you look like in
yeah.
action. But as a wrestler, how do you create a story? How do you market yourself? So I'm Melissa, the Superwoman. I don't know what was your stage name was,
Yeah.
but how do you get the public to go and pay, I don't know, $20, $30 ticket to go and see you in the ring?
Yeah, so that's a so my wrestling name was the 21st Century Fox. So that was my wrestling name. So everyone used to call me Foxy. Even my friends now from wrestling, they still call me Fox or Foxy. Um but it's like anything, like any kind of marketing plan, it takes time, right? It takes time to see what works. It takes time to see um what connects with the audience that you're trying to connect with. um but it really, again, it comes down to who you are and what you feel comfortable to do, and then showing that to people. So I was a bad guy most of the time, and so part of my natural personality is like I like to have fun, I like to be funny. And so I use that in my character. I use that kind of like humor. So my character was a bad guy, but also would like, you know, just make a fool of myself, like in front of people, or like be over the top. I used to do this thing where I would get out of the ring and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm not wrestling anymore." And somebody would say, like in the crowd, they'd be like, "Ah, you're a chicken." And I'd be like, "I'm not a chicken." I'd stop like doing stuff like that, like a chicken, and be like, or kick the ring and be like, "Oh, my foot. Like, why did I do that?" So it was like always like I tried to make it as entertaining as possible when you're like trying to like connect with a crowd. So they're booing me, but at the same time, they're laughing at me, and it's like I'm trying to get them to laugh at me. So that was part of my character. That was something. And so people, say, "Hey, I saw," like they see you or they see your name, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember last time she was funny. Let's go make fun of her again," or, "Oh, let's go boo her. She was such a bad person." And so, in those kind of times, it was like more word of mouth, and then it was, other promoters get to hear about you, or they see some video, or, um, because other people would send videos of maybe of you wrestling them. So they're kind of promoting you at the same time because they'll be like, "Oh yeah, but who's that girl you're wrestling? Like, who is that person?" Um, so it was I became known for that, and that's what, building a brand is. It's becoming known
Right.
for something. Um, and so yeah, that was part of at that time, I was one of the first, if not the first, I don't know who else did it. I used to do video blogs. I was like the first to do because a lot of people were blogging back then. This is in the early 2000s, by the way. And so I decided, like, I love talking, I love being on video, so I'm gonna do video blogs, and YouTube was starting to become a thing. And so that's another way I started promoting myself, was with these video blogs, which at that time people didn't do. Um, so yeah, I think that answered your question.
Yes, you did. So okay, so you I forgot. I think you said you got married and then you started promoting your husband. So are you self-taught, and what's the process of learning how to market either yourself or, in your case, your husband?
Yeah, so when I was in wrestling, I was young, I was in my 20s, and um I didn't think about marketing in the sense of how I think about it now, I would say. Because I didn't really know what marketing was, I think at that time, really. I knew I had to be out there and, you know, get my name out there. But with my husband, I had a more of a sense of, okay, we need to just get him out there now and know what he's about. And so, yes, I'm self-taught for the most part. I did take some online courses, and so I will always like take courses. I'm taking one now. Like, I'll always take courses, whether it's in person or online. Just because like there's so much to know about branding, marketing. Um, no one knows it all. I try to be very specific. I try to be more specific now with what I'm learning. But for the most part, it's self-taught. It's just about going out there, making mistakes, making more mistakes, then making more mistakes, and then learning from all of that. So I don't believe in failure. I don't think failure um exists in the way that we think. I think that we can always learn from our mistakes, and we should.
Okay, well then, how is it now? So you now have a business. You're helping people. First of all, can you tell us about the service that you provide, and maybe it's one success story that comes to your mind?
Yeah, first of all, the services I provide, so I'm a brand strategist and I also do content marketing. So that encompasses the brand part is really the foundation of the marketing, because in the brand strategy part, we understand, like I was saying before, like who you are. We understand who you're trying to target, who you're trying to work with, who the people you're trying to serve. And we're trying to understand more deeply what that problem is that you solve, so that we can have a clear message, we can have a clear understanding of, how to get that message out there, how to make you stand out with your story and your experience. And then the other side of that is, okay, now that we have that message and we understand who you are and who you're trying to reach, part two is now online, because I work with online businesses. So online, now what does that look like? What does that feel like for people that want to work with you? And how do we attract those people visually with our message, with what we're putting out there? So it's the brand strategy is developing or refining a lot of times, because a lot of people I work with already have started their businesses. They're not new in their business, but it's about really refining and getting more aligned to what they're doing, and who they're doing it for. And then online, what does that look like? And I help with, sometimes people want help with their websites, refresh, also do that too. But it's mostly the strategy, those two strategies that I help people with.
Okay, so for example, I am a new business. I started this business called Solopreneurs Montreal. Let's say I heard about you and I say, well, I wonder how this girl Melissa can help me.
Mhm.
So then I said, Melissa, I need help. I need to get my brand out there. Then what comes next?
So I always start with like a call just to understand like like your goals and if I'm even a good fit, because um if I'm not a good fit, I'm not someone who will just take on everyone just to work. Because I want people to get the help that they actually need. And if that's me, then that's cool. If it's not me, then that's cool too. If I know someone, I always refer. So that first call is really just to see what is the actual goal of the person and just to get an understanding of who they are and see if they like me too. It's called like a fit call, like just to see if we're a good fit. And then if it is a good fit, then like I said, I'd start with that mapping session. And that's where I get to know more deeply about you and yourself and who you're trying to reach and things like that. And then from there, I kind of offer two kinds of experiences. One's that done with you, where we're working more together. It's more of a like I'm guiding you, I'm more coaching. Um, and a lot of people are busy, don't really have time to do some of the research that needs to be done. And so that's more of a done for you experience where, of course, we're still working together, but I do most of the heavy lifting. And so that encompasses like just researching more about the industry that you're in, researching who these people are so that we can curate like a more clear message. And then online, I create like templates, I create a strategy of this is what needs to be said and done in a content perspective. And yeah, and then we develop that, and then you have your new fresh baby or like grown up kid.
Okay. Okay,
So
great.
that's kind of what it looks like.
Okay, well, you have been already working on your own for a while. I wonder what piece of advice you would give to someone who is considering starting their own business. And of course, they are dealing with all the insecurities, all the
Mhm.
self-talk, the imposter syndromes, all these paraphernalia of big words.
Yeah.
But they are not getting started. What would you say to a person who is in that position right now?
Yeah. So this is a great question because I've come, and just recently too, I usually say, get comfortable with no. Get comfortable with the word no, because that is something that really holds people back, I think, is either saying it or having it said to you. I think there's something really powerful in having that not affect you. Because I remember when I first started and you want to work with someone and then they're like, oh, not right now, or oh, no, I'm not interested. It kind of affects you and it kind of like knocks you down and it kind of makes you upset. And it got to the point where it was like, you know what? I was working with a coach actually, and he said that you haven't lost anything. If someone says no to you, you haven't lost anything because it was never yours to begin with, you know? And that really stuck with me of just being a little bit separate from the outcomes, like separating yourself from the outcome.
Right.
Because a no could either be a no never or no could be a no not right now. I I was speaking to someone, I think it was like in September, and we started working together last week. But like it was December, right? So it was at that it wasn't the right time. And I think that we're always this is like a lot of people say this too, but like we're always we're always ready to sell, but people aren't always ready to buy, right? So
Right.
I think understanding, like having that understanding of a no is not a bad thing, understanding that, you know, the time has to be ready, understanding that you have to enjoy the journey because you're going to learn so much, and your business, how it looks when you start, is not going to look the same a year from then. It's not going to look the same a year from that. Um, and the other biggest thing that I think is a driving factor for them all, which it kind of just, I keep hearing this message recently, is about fear. And and once you can let go of your fears, like you're unstoppable. And I call my community warriors, because like I say, don't be a warrior, be a warrior. Um, because it's about letting go of that fear. And once you do that, it'll change everything for you.
Well, I like to push back on that, Melissa. I don't think I will ever get rid of my fear. Everything that I do every day frightens me to death. I just go ahead and do it
Yeah.
anyway. But my
Yeah.
fear is my good companion. We have a love-hate relationship here, and yeah, I don't know if that will ever happen to say goodbye, fear.
Yeah. I mean, you can feel the fear and do it anyway,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
Like, and I guess that's where discipline comes in. Um, Chris Joe, he posted something recently. It was about Mike Tyson's, and Mike Tyson saying like discipline is doing something you hate and love, but doing it like you love it.
yeah,
And I I find that interesting. I don't find that accurate, because I feel like discipline is doing something you like hate maybe, but doing it anyway because you want the goal. That's what
yeah,
it is. It's not
exactly. Mm,
about I have to do this and I have to enjoy it. We're not going to enjoy everything that we have to do
mm,
in our
yeah.
businesses. But the discipline is about creating a habit in order to get the goal that we want.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Well, Melissa, the last question is how can people find out about you, your services, or your social media properties, this and that?
Yeah, so my Instagram is the Melissa Maughn. So you can check me out there. It's the same for LinkedIn too. If you want to follow me on LinkedIn, I'm going to be posting more there. My website is 40, so the number 31, and that's spelled out, marketing.com. So 4031marketing.com, where you can find services, you can find more about me. And I also have a podcast. It's called the Fearless Era Podcast. I just started it a couple weeks ago. And it's weekly on Wednesdays. And so you can also check me out there.
Okay, please send me the link because I have your other links, but I don't have this one. And
Okay.
all those will be in the show notes. Melissa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.